Vice President Kamala Harris just gave an incredible speech in Raleigh, North Carolina. She focused on economic policy and gave details what her plans are to benefit working Americans. She also completely shredded Donald Trump. Let me show you some portions of Vice President Kamala Harris's speech in Raleigh, North Carolina. Then I want to compare that to what Donald Trump was saying at his press conference, which was supposed to be about the economy, but wasn't. Then I want to share with you what J.D. Vance was saying today as well. Here, Vice President Kamala Harris talks about moving the nation forward with these policies that work. Play this clip.
So now is the time to chart a new way forward. Now is the time to chart a new way forward, to build. To build an America where everyone's work is rewarded and talents are valued, where we work with labor and business to strengthen the American economy, and where everyone has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead.
Vice President Kamala Harris then talks about defending basic principles that should matter to most Americans. Play this clip.
And key to creating this opportunity economy is building up our middle class. It is essential. The middle class is one of America's greatest strengths. And to protect it then, we must defend basic principles, such as your salary should be enough to provide you and your family with a good quality of life. Such as no child should have to grow up in poverty. Such as after years of hard work, you should be able to retire with dignity. And you should be able to join a union if you choose. Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency, because I strongly believe when the middle class is strong, America is strong.
Vice President Kamala Harris then talks about helping families with rising costs and the best way to approach that. Play the clip.
Finally, there's one more way I will help families deal with rising costs, and that's by letting you keep more of your hard-earned money. Under my plan, more than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut, and we will do this by restoring 2 tax cuts designed to help middle-class and working Americans: the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit. Through which millions of Americans with children got to keep more of their hard-earned income. We know this works and has a direct impact on so many issues, including child poverty. We know it works. So as president, I'll not only restore that tax cut, but expand it. We will provide $6,000 in tax relief to families during the first year of a child's life. Now think what that means. Think what that means. That is a vital, vital year of critical development of a child. And the cost can really add up, especially for young parents who need to buy diapers and clothes and a car seat and so much else. And we will do this while reducing the deficit.
Compare Donald Trump's speech on the economy, where Donald Trump talks about the cover of Time magazine. Play this clip.
And when they find out, I think you're going to see something. But right now, even not knowing her, and with all of like the cover of Time magazine, they didn't put a picture. They got a great artist to do it. What was that all about? What was that all about? The whole thing is crazy.
Or compare Vice President Kamala Harris's speech to Trump's speech on the economy, where he talks about how a man on the street doesn't know Vice President Kamala Harris's last name.
So I don't think so. I don't think people know who she is yet. Because really people didn't know. You can ask the man on the street. I saw it on one of the shows today. They asked the man on the street, what's the last name of Kamala? Nobody knew. It's Harris. Nobody knew the last name. I don't even use it because nobody knows who I'm talking about. People don't know who she is.
Or here, Donald Trump standing in front of his exclusive private club, where he is now holding his events and press conferences because he doesn't want to leave his private club, nor can he fill up auditoriums anymore. But he goes, look what I've given up. I've given up all of this. While he hasn't given up all of this, he is quite literally there at his country club or whatever it is. Here, play this clip.
Early enough, I gave up that life for a life of politics. I gave up all of these beautiful places that I have all over the world for a life of being abused by the fake news media.
Going back to Vice President Kamala Harris, here she is saying that she's going to focus on helping families pay their bills at the kitchen table or walk in the aisles of a grocery store. Play this clip.
So in the weeks to come, I will address in greater detail my plans to build an opportunity economy. And today, I will focus on one element that's on the minds of many Americans as they pay their bills at the kitchen table or walk the aisles of a grocery store. And that is lowering the cost of living. So every day across our nation, families talk about their plans for the future, their ambitions, their aspirations for themselves, for their children. And they talk about how they're going to be able to actually achieve them financially. Because look, the bills add up. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes, prescription medication. After all that, for many families, there's not much left at the end of the month. I grew up in a middle-class household. For most of my childhood, we were renters. My mother saved for well over a decade to buy a home. I was a teenager when that day finally came, and I can remember so well how excited she was. I kind of understood what it meant, but we called her Mommy. Mommy was so excited, it just made us excited that she was so excited. Later in college, I worked at McDonald's to earn spending money. Well, some of the people I worked with were raising families on that paycheck. They worked second or even third jobs to pay rent and buy food. That only gets harder when the cost of living goes up. When I am elected president, I will make it a top priority to bring down costs and increase economic security for all Americans. As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans, like the cost of food.
As a kid, I loved eating cereal, but as an adult, I don't want all that sugar, and most cereals don't give me the protein I need. Then I found Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like my childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. And if you're already a Magic Spoon fan like I am, I have big news. Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are so delicious and have already become my favorite before and after gym snack. Every serving of Magic Spoon cereal has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, and 4 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about what you are eating. The most popular flavors are fruity and cocoa, and there's so many more. I love the cocoa ones. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are crispy, crunchy, airy, and an easy way to get 11 grams of protein on the go. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolate peanut butter. Chocolatey peanut butter. I personally love Magic Spoon's chocolatey peanut butter treats. I have one every morning to start the day off on the right foot, and I know you will love it as well. Get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/Meidas or look for Magic Spoon in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for $5 off. Magic Spoon, hold on to the dream. magicspoon.com/Meidas. Vice President Kamala Harris talks about how this country has come a long way since President Biden and she got into office. Play the clip.
So thank you all. So listen, this election, I do strongly believe, is about two very different visions for our nation. One, ours, focused on the future, and the other, focused on the past. We see that contrast clearly in many ways, including when it comes to how we think about the economy. So our country has come a long way since President Biden and I took office. At that time, we sadly remember the millions of Americans that were out of work. We were facing one of the worst economic crises in modern history. And today, by virtually every measure, our economy is the strongest in the world. We have created 16 million new jobs. We have made historic investments in infrastructure, in chips manufacturing, in clean energy. And new numbers this week alone show that inflation is down under 3%. And as President of the United States, it will be my intention to build on the foundation of this progress. Still,
Vice President Kamala Harris then details some of the significant issues around price gouging that Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans enable corporations to price gouge and raise the prices. These corporations are having record profits right now. Here, play this clip.
We all know that prices went up during the pandemic when the supply chains shut down and failed. But our supply chains have now improved, and prices are still too high. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%. Many of the big food companies are seeing their highest profits in 2 decades. And while many grocery chains pass along these savings, others still aren't. Look, I know most businesses are creating jobs, contributing to our economy, and playing by the rules. But some are not. And that's just not right. And we need to take action when that is the case.
Now compare that to Donald Trump's speech on the economy. Donald Trump says that you will all be thrown into a communist system where you will all get health care, which he says is a bad thing that everybody gets health care. Here, play this clip.
And you're not going to be allowed. You're all going to be thrown into a communist system. It's a communist system. You're going to be thrown into a system where everybody gets health care.
Donald Trump then talks about windmills and that they're killing birds. A major part of Donald Trump's economic speech right here. Play the clip.
Instead of playing this game with wind that is ruining everything, killing all your birds, destroying the fields, all these gorgeous fields. You got windmills all over the place, and you have birds. You want to see a bird cemetery? Just go under a windmill. You see thousands of birds dead. The bald eagle, if you kill an eagle, they put you in jail for years. And yet these windmills knock them out like nothing. And nothing happens to the people. Now, it's a
Here, Donald Trump tries to talk about supply chains, but it's clear he doesn't really know what supply chains are. Play this clip.
We're going to bring back our supply chains to stop costly supply chain disruptions. We have tremendous disruptions. I have it all the time, and I think you do too. We order things, and I keep saying, well, when's it getting here? Sir, there's a supply chain disruption. And I mean, you end up getting stuff like 3 months late now. I don't know, all these geniuses over here, I think we can say that. I'm not sure that you're necessarily as much into it, but they are. And I will say that very often, we have problems with supply chains where I'm waiting for things for weeks and weeks. And I say, by the way, whatever happened to it? Supply chain, sir, it's not coming in. And it's a terrible thing. Nobody ever thought a thing like that would happen to our country.
Harris in Raleigh, North Carolina, where she talks about how Donald Trump wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Play this clip.
And together with President Biden, we've gone even further. We capped the price of insulin at $35 a month, and the total cost of prescription drugs at $2,000 a year for seniors. We let Medicare negotiate lower drug prices for seniors. And just yesterday, we announced that we are lowering the price by up to 80% for 10 more life-saving drugs. And I pledge to continue this progress. I'll lower the cost of insulin and prescription drugs for everyone with your support, not only our seniors. And demand transparency from the middlemen who operate between Big Pharma and the insurance companies who use opaque practices to raise your drug prices and profit off your need for medicine. 2 months ago, I announced that medical debt will no longer be used against your credit score. And I will work as president with states like here in North Carolina, Roy Cooper, thank you again, to cancel medical debt for more and more, millions more Americans. As for Donald Trump, well, he wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which 45 million Americans rely on. 45 million Americans rely on it for health care. That would take us back to a time when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. We all remember what that was. And we're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. And remember, and this is why we're not going back, because we do remember, he tried to cut Medicare every year he was president, threatening a program that tens of millions of seniors count on. And according to his Project 2025 agenda, he intends to undo our work to bring down prescription drugs, the cost of prescription drugs, and insulin costs. Well, we've come too far to let that happen.
Donald Trump tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act over and over again, didn't have a plan to replace it. He said that he was going to introduce a big, beautiful plan. Never introduced any plan at all. It was thankfully because of the late Senator John McCain putting his thumb down and voting against Trump's plan to repeal the Affordable Care Act, that 45 million Americans still have health care. It would have been an absolute disaster if Donald Trump got what he wanted. And here, Vice President Kamala Harris talks about stopping corporate landlords who are contributing to making it more difficult for people to buy homes and afford rent. Play the clip.
And by the end of my first term, we will end America's housing shortage by building 3 million new homes and rentals that are affordable for the middle class. And we will do that together. We will do that together. And we will make sure those homes actually go to working and middle class Americans, not just investors. Because, you know, some corporate landlords, some of them buy dozens, if not hundreds of houses and apartments. Then they turn them around and rent them out at extremely high prices. And it can make it impossible then for regular people to be able to buy or even rent a home. Some corporate landlords collude with each other to set artificially high rental prices, often using algorithms in price-fixing software to do it. It's anti-competitive and it drives up costs. I will fight for a law that cracks down on these practices.
Here, Vice President Kamala Harris talks about when Donald Trump showed up in North Carolina and gave a bizarre speech that was supposed to be about the economy, but wasn't. Play this clip.
So I'll end with this. 2 days ago, Donald Trump was here in North Carolina. He said he was going to talk about the economy. I think you all watched. You know what I'm about to say. But he offered no serious plans to reduce costs for middle-class families. No plan to expand access to housing or health care. And that, actually, I think for most of us, was not surprising. Because we already know his plans. We know the Project 2025 agenda. So there's a choice in this election. Donald Trump's plans to devastate the middle class, punish working people, and make the cost of living go up for millions of Americans. And on the other hand, when I'm elected president, what we will do to bring down costs, increase the security and stability financially of your family, and expand opportunity for working and middle class Americans.
Okay, compare the very detailed speech that you just heard Vice President Kamala Harris give with Donald Trump saying that virtually 100% of net job creation comes from migrants. And then he goes, actually, substantially more than 100% comes from migrants. He's just saying random numbers, not substantially more than 100%. It's just making things up. It's just stupid. Here, play this clip.
Virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. You know that? Most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%. It's a much higher number than that, but the government hasn't caught up with that yet. But virtually.
Now here is Donald Trump at the event last night in Bedminster at his country club. And here Donald Trump says that the Presidential Medal of Freedom that he gave to his billionaire donor is much better than the Medal of Honor the Congressional Medal of Honor given to the military members because he says that his donor looks pretty. And he said that the recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor often look bad and they're in very bad shape and sometimes they're dead. Here, play this clip.
I have to say, Miriam, I watched Sheldon sitting so proud in the White House when we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. And they're rated equal.
So then J.D. Vance was asked in Milwaukee about Donald Trump's statements, and J.D. Vance was in the military, but here J.D. Vance supports what Donald Trump said, and he said, I think that it was a good statement that Donald Trump made. Here, play this clip.
This is a guy who loves our veterans and who honors our veterans. I don't think him complimenting and saying a nice word about a person who received the Presidential Medal of Freedom is in any way denigrating those who received military honors. They're two different awards, and I think the president was saying some nice things about a person that he liked, and that's a totally reasonable thing to do.
Apparently, J.D. Vance has never seen the movie Gangs of New York, but nonetheless wants to use it as an example to, make xenophobic remarks, not just about migrants today, but also about immigrants coming into America in the past. And it seems obvious that he hasn't seen the movie, or Bill the Butcher may be someone who J.D. Vance looks up to. Here, play the clip.
Okay. Sir.
Senator Vance, Chris Cameron at the New York Times, you were talking about the relationship between crime and immigration, and my question is on that issue.
Please.
In an interview when you were running for Senate in September 2021, you were speaking with Jack Murphy, and you were talking about previous waves of immigration to the United States. You said the following: you had this massive wave of primarily Italian, Irish, and German immigration, and that had its problems and that had its consequences. You pointed to these problems as being higher crime rates, ethnic enclaves, and inter-ethnic conflict. Should the United States have prescribed similar policies to what you're proposing now, including mass deportation, to deal with those issues?
Well, first of all, I also said there were a lot of benefits to that wave of immigration. But has anybody ever seen the movie Gangs of New York? That's what I'm talking about. We know that when you have these massive ethnic enclaves forming in our country, it can sometimes lead to higher crime rates.
And J.D. Vance is asked a question about, should Donald Trump be talking more about policy than, say, Hannibal Lecter and windmills and just weird stuff? Should he talk about policies and issues? And J.D. Vance goes, no. I don't think he needs to talk about that at all. He shouldn't pivot. Here, play the clip. I thought it was helpful that I show you not just Vice President Kamala Harris's speech, but the contrast right there. So you can see for yourself and make your assessments about who has plans that benefit you and benefit your family in this country, your communities. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers together. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.